Hey there, imagine you book your favorite cruise ever and you book it a year in advance. Everything is awesome. You get all the way to your cruise, you get on board, you check in, everything's great. You grab your first lunch and dinner, you go see a show, and the cruise is awesome. You wake up the next day and you're not feeling great. You let it go for a little bit and then maybe you head to medical around lunchtime where you're really not feeling great at all. They see you, no problem. They tell you that you have some type of gastrointestinal virus or some type of an issue. You have to get maybe fluids, an IV, maybe you need an antibiotic, maybe you need some type of medicine, maybe something else entirely, who knows. But for whatever reason, by the next day or two, you're feeling much better. You go out and you enjoy the rest of your cruise. You're getting ready to get off the ship and you find out you have a $1,700 bill and they just charge your credit card like that and you're out that money. That could definitely happen on your cruise, and this is why maybe you should think about having travel insurance. Would travel insurance cover this? Let's go talk about it. Hey everyone, John here from Byte Size Cruises. Welcome to our channel. If you're new here, we're a travel agency. We're just trying to give you the best information possible about cruising so you can plan and go on an amazing cruise vacation. Today, we're going to talk about travel insurance. We're going to talk about what's included, what's covered, what's not covered, and if we think it's a good fit for you. So first up, I've been going on cruises since I was in my 20s. I'm in the 70s of the amount of cruises I've been on. And I would say probably my first 20 cruises, I didn't even know travel insurance existed. I was young, I was in my early 20s. I was going on a bunch of cruises. I was going on trips everywhere, going to the Bahamas, going here, going there. I never even thought about travel insurance. You don't think about these things when you're young. Then you start to get older, you get a little more practical. You start going to dinner at 5 o'clock, you start wearing Skechers, everything changes for you quickly. And then you start thinking about travel insurance. So now I get travel insurance every single cruise. In my situation, I actually have yearly travel insurance, so it covers all of my trips. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about travel insurance in general. Why is travel insurance specifically for cruising so critical? First, let's talk about the things that you have no control over at all. Let's talk about the weather. A lot of people cruise during the summer. During the summer kicks off hurricane season. So what happens if your cruise gets canceled? Now, in all likeliness, most cruises at this point don't get canceled. But here's what does happen. Maybe you're going to different ports than you had originally signed up for. Maybe you're leaving a day later or coming back a day later. Travel insurance and cruise insurance specifically is going to cover these things. It's going to give you some type of a refund or some type of money back for missing ports, for changing your itinerary, for staying too long, for leaving late, whatever it is. Same thing if your flight gets canceled. Same thing if you miss a port because of the weather or your itinerary just changes for some reason. Those things are covered. Next up, let's talk about one of the most obvious ones, which is onboard medical care. So when you are on board the cruise ship, any number of things can go wrong, right? You never know. You could get sick, norovirus. While it's not as prevalent as you may think on cruises, it is talked about a lot, and there is norovirus where people just get GI issues. People get travel sickness. People get seasick. Any number of things can go on. Remember, you are in the middle of the ocean. You're not going to have immediate resources like a surgeon and different things. They can do a lot of different things on board. There are doctors on board the ship and nurses. There is a medical center. They can take care of you. They can stabilize you. But a lot could go wrong. You could fall. If you slip and fall on the pool deck, you're running. God knows what could happen. You might wind up getting a cast. The next thing we're going to talk about is, are these medical things covered? And the answer is, it's going to depend, right? So if you have good travel insurance, what's going to happen is, of course, while you're on the cruise, the situation that I brought up earlier, you might have to get an IV. When I was in my 20s, I got norovirus or some type of GI sickness, which I've only had very few times on cruise ships, knock on everything. But if you go anywhere, right, you're subject to this. I've friends and family that have gone to India for weddings and trips, and they wind up getting sick. I got sick in Cozumel on a cruise. I had to get an IV on the ship. It wound up costing me over $1,000. I didn't have travel insurance. I had to just pay for that. So when you are on the ship, if you have a medical procedure, you will have to pay out of pocket for that. Now, that's not to say that they won't work out terms with you and say, okay, maybe you have something crazy that happens and you ring up a $10,000 bill, you don't have enough credit cards to cover that, whatever the issue may be. They will work out some type of a payment plan with you. They'll try to help you out and do whatever they can. When you get off the ship, you're gonna have to file your claim, and those things will be covered. Most insurance policies, and we're talking about different insurances, so you're gonna have to do your best to look around. We recommend specific insurances. If you'd like information, you can reach out to us. In the policies that we recommend, they offer $50,000 of emergency medical and dental. So say you fall, you hit your face and you break your teeth, and then you have to come off. They don't have a dentist on the ship, so you're gonna have to get off the ship and get some type of dental procedure. That's gonna be covered, again, medical and dental, up to $50,000. That's great. That covers anything that's gonna happen. Let's talk about what happens off the ship. If you are in Cozumel, if you are in Barcelona, if you are in Halifax, anywhere you go, your standard health insurance is not going to be taken wherever you're going overseas. So you are going to have to receive medical care over there. A lot of countries are going to charge you upfront cash. There's not much you can do about that upfront. But again, if you have travel insurance, this is going to cover that. $50,000 of emergency medical or dental is going to be covered. And then last but not least, let's talk about emergency evacuation and repatriation. This is, to me, the most important thing about getting insurance for your cruise. If you are on the cruise ship, if you are 150, 200 miles out into the ocean and someone has a heart attack, someone has a stroke, someone has an emergent medical situation where you need to be medevaced off the ship, that means the Coast Guard's going to fly out, and they're going to pick you up and they're going to fly you back to the United States. Even if you are on a private island or in the Bahamas or in Cozumel, you're going to be flown back and repatriated to the US. That can cost upwards of $200,000. That happens on a cruise ship, you could be bankrupted by that. So having cruise and travel insurance is going to cover that. The policies that we recommend are going to cover up to $500,000 for that. I would highly recommend, remember, you can check all your policies, check with different travel insurance companies. There's a million, just like regular insurance. Check them all out and make sure that you have that coverage up to $500,000 for that. So that's going to cover you for if anything happens on board the ship, anything happens off the ship, and anything happens where you need to be medevaced back to the United States. Those are things that are super important for cruises. The other things that most people don't think about are just standard scenarios when you're traveling, right? What happens if you lose your luggage, where the airline loses it or the cruise line loses it? This is another reason why I recommend using air tags as well. That's a whole other video. But travel insurance will help you there. There are all different policies for how much is covered. In ours that we recommend, it's like $1,000 for your luggage. But again, there are higher ones. You could pay for more premium insurance that covers more things, or a lesser insurance that covers less. It's going to cover trip interruption, trip cancellation. It's going to cover if, like we said, that hurricane comes and changes your ports or itinerary. Those are all things you could file a claim for. I had a client a few weeks ago. They had an issue. Their flight was canceled, and they had an overnight hotel before their cruise, which was very smart. They wound up missing that, and the flight wound up coming in the day of the cruise. Everything was fine. They got on the cruise ship, but then they filed a claim and they got their money back for their hotel, which was non-refundable. So those are some great things that you can use your travel insurance are for. So here's what I will tell you. You don't have to use any specific insurance. I'm not even going to give you the names of any in this video. Here's what we recommend when you're looking at your cruise insurance policies. Get all of the information. Get the policies from whatever companies you want to look at, and look at all the coverage limits, look at the exclusions, look at all of the other things, and always make sure that you're lining things up apple to apple. You can evaluate the cruise line insurance. The cruises all have their own insurance for their specific cruise line. So Norwegian, MSC, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, all of them have their own insurance plans. Again, make sure you look and review those. And then there are independent providers. There are a ton of them out there. look at those and compare everything. So again, here are some common mistakes to avoid when we're talking about travel insurance. When we talk about upfront, there are two different types of travel insurance, just overall. The first one is cancel for any reason. Generally, I don't recommend this. There is really very, very few instances where you would ever need cancel for any reason insurance. If you are going to get that, it has to be booked usually between 24 and 48 hours of booking your trip. So it has to be booked right away. Ask upfront with the cruise line or your travel agent if you need that type of insurance. That type of insurance means that with 2 days before the cruise, you could just decide, I don't want to go on this cruise. And you're going to get somewhere between 90 and 95% of your money back. Cancel for any reason insurance is very expensive. And I don't recommend it for anyone who's just thinking like, hey, I'm just not going to go. If you don't think you're going to go, book a refundable fare and then don't pay the final payment. Get your money back, make sure you're good to go. Otherwise, that insurance really doesn't make any sense for most people. The second type of insurance is going to cover you pre-trip, let's talk about pre-trip, right? For any issues that may come up. I generally recommend getting your travel insurance somewhere around final payment. At that point, you know, hey, I'm going to go on this trip. I'm planning all full steam ahead that I'm going on this trip. Before that, I really don't recommend getting insurance before final payment because if you cancel the trip, you're out of that money for your insurance because now your insurance is not refundable, so you're not going to get that back. So if you do it in some alignment with your final payment or shortly thereafter, you are good to go. Now you can wait up in some instances up to the day before. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend waiting until a month before. Somewhere around final payment is very good. That way you are going to be covered if something pops up. Remember, pre-cruise, if something pops up where, for instance, you have a family member that you take care of that passes away, that you're a caretaker for, or you have some type of issue. If you're a lawyer and you get called into a case, you're a doctor, you get called into a surgery or something, those type of things are covered. It might not cover 100%, but it's going to cover up to maybe 75 to 90 to 95% of it. So those are some things to look at as well. Read the fine print, make sure you know about pre-existing conditions, do a full comparison of all your benefits, all the limits, everything that you need. Again, my recommendation is that you do not leave your house and go on a cruise without travel insurance. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me at jp@bytesizecruises.com. I'm happy to answer questions or make a comment in the chat. I know a lot of people talk about insurance and whether you should have it or not. I think you should. I think most people in the travel industry, I go on a lot of cruises and I see a lot of things happen. And the first thing that pops into my head, sadly, is I hope the person's all right. The second thing that pops into my head is I hope they have travel insurance because those things can really kind of destroy you. As we know, healthcare is just insane. Whole nother story. So thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We hope you have a wonderful day. Happy cruising, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.